Hey, it's Martavis Bryant, a.k.a. Morning McBride, and you listen to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Happy birthday, Mike, the fantasy hitman Wright.
I liked it better when I was the president, but
Thursday, March 3rd, better known as the Hitman's birthday.
thank you.
We're back again, the Fantasy Footballers. Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright. Are you doing anything special other than this incredible podcast?
Well, I'm opening up my Twitter account for those who want to send me like e-checks.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Mike.
I know.
You're really for the people.
I didn't even know you could do that. You can get e-checks right through Twitter, huh?
Can you really?
Well, my PayPal. You DM me. I'll give you my PayPal, and you can send me some money.
Wow. If you get one at this point, that was really strategic.
At FF Hitman.
And what are you, like 38, 39?
What? Yeah. 33.
33.
What a loser.
But check this out. 33 on 3-3.
Whoa. What does that mean? This is your last year?
Probably.
We've got a really good show for you today. We are answering all of your questions. All your questions belong to us.
Is that a Nintendo reference? Did you even realize that was a Nintendo reference?
I was going to go there, and then...
All your base belong to us?
Yeah, I remember. So we're answering keeper questions, trade questions, dynasty questions, all
league format questions.
League format, anything you have, and you can always send them in. We answer them as often as we can. At the
Chris
end,
Jones
even
questions.
at the end of shows that aren't just Foot Clan listener question episodes, we answer those. And that is, you can find that by going to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click on the Submit a Question button. Send those in, and we answer as many as we can. You can follow us on Twitter. We like to stay active on the social media. This show exists because of you and your leagues and your teams and your questions. So that's why we're here. That's why we're here year-round. We are an independent podcast, and if you want to get involved with our community, you can do so at jointhefoot.com. There are over 1,000 of you already on there discussing various fantasy football-related goodness.
And every Thursday, like today, we put out an exclusive show over there. So go to Join the Foot.
An extra show every week on jointhefoot.com. Today, I have a quick question for you, gentlemen, before we get into the mailbag. And the question is simply this. If you're running a league, you are a commissioner or you are a member of a league, and you're looking to make your league the best it can be, what is the best way to handle trades? Okay? So there are a lot of...
Functionally, you're saying.
Functionally, as a commissioner. Is it better to have limits on trades or no limits on trades? Is it better to have trades process immediately or wait 2 days for the league to vote on trades? Is it should you be able to trade draft picks in keeper leagues and things like that? Answer kind of philosophically. What do you think are some of the best parts about trading and how leagues should be run?
A good commissioner is going to know the lay of the land for his league, and I would say it would be different. Meaning, I would choose different things based on the league that I'm in. If it's a new league and you guys haven't been working together for a long time and there's not camaraderie there, I think you need to set up rules that help build to that. Rules like having a 24-hour...
Build some trust.
Yeah, a 24-hour, vote system for every trade that goes through. I'm not a big fan of limiting trades at all when it comes to, like, you can only have 5 trades this year or something like that. That being said, if you're in a group of great players, you're in a great league, the league that everyone wants to play in, I say get rid of that deadline so that you can be faster. You can just trade instantly.
Waiting period.
The waiting period.
Not deadline, because you would have a trade deadline.
Certainly have a trade deadline. But removing the waiting period is actually really liberating. It allows you to trade more during the season where you're still having to wait for waivers to go through, and there's Thursday night games are creeping in. It seems so hard when you have a trade waiting period on acceptance. You're always doing the math like, okay, so if I trade after the waivers go through, how many hours do I have to get a trade done before I have to start this guy on Thursday? and lineups lock at X clock.
That's something that didn't really apply to fantasy owners before Thursday night was a big time, and the Saturday games that take place too. It's a lot nicer when you don't have to, say, okay, really, it's Friday. I can't trade anymore this week.
Yeah. What say you, Mike?
You got everything. You nailed everything. You hit it out of the park. I got nothing else to add.
When's the right time to have a trade deadline?
Ooh, the right time to have a trade deadline depends on if you are a keeper league or if you're just a full redraft. If you're redraft, it can be pushed back a little bit later. To me, in redraft, I would want it done by week 10, 11.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were going to say about 9, 10.
Yeah, right around there. It seems good for redraft.
You have to have one of those, though. Because, every now and then, when we get to the playoffs or even championship week, we still deal with questions every now and coming in saying, like, hey, my league doesn't have a trade deadline.
My commissioner didn't put a dedeadline in. Now I can trade in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
I will say this to that. If you can trade there in your playoffs, and so to speak, I would still do it. I would not feel a moral responsibility to hold up because I don't think it's fair.
Because that's part of the league rules.
I will play to the rules of the league. And let's say you have that. You're like, well, we've never had a problem. One of these times, you're going to have a massive problem that will end up with someone leaving the league because it will have that catastrophic of an effect.
Well, let's move on then to the mailbag. Now, listen, when you were gone, Mike, last week, Jason did his best, and I would not describe it as a good birthday gift to you.
I got to hear that back. I had no idea I did such a bad job at that mailbag drop. I mean, I screamed in my ear. I hurt my own ears when I listened.
Well, I think your first problem, I'll give you a pro tip, is you got to go less is more. I feel like you want to extend it out to feel like you're giving it some gusto, but you're not. You're just ruining it more.
All right. Well, why don't you show us how it's done here, Mike?
Mailbag.
That was nice and punchy and staccatoed.
When do you think that's going to start fading for you, age-wise? I mean, your game. You said
I'm already up there.
You're older than Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, that's really the standard here.
I don't know. I keep the pipes nice and loose and exercise.
You think you can get into your 40s? Brett Favre this thing?
Oof. Though I will say this, they probably will be Brett Favre as in I'll retire and I'll unretire
into some other podcast.
Yes,
you go for our competitor podcast and do some mailbag drops for them.
Which show was it? They blurred together, but there was the standard show and the Patreon mailbag show. There was one where you challenged the Foot Clan.
That was
that Patreon?
Oh, that was Patreon. Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to do it on here. I want you to play the drop and Foot Clan. Record yourself doing the mailbag drop.
Yeah, we want to see who's the best.
And send them in.
Yeah, we did that on Patreon. It was fun. So here's your opportunity right now. 3, 2, 1.
Mailbag.
I nailed it
Hopefully
in my head.
There were a lot of cars careening off the road. I said hopefully because hopefully you're recording yourself while you were driving and singing that.
I would love it if people said that. That can be the birthday present for me.
There you go.
Is just record yourself doing the mailbag drop.
All right. I said it before. If you have a question, you can go to the website and submit them. But you can also call our voicemail number and leave us a voicemail question. That number is 302-464-TFFB. Let's jump into the mailbag. Kai in Dallas is first, and he says, would y'all rather take a running back like Bell, McCoy, and maybe reach a little bit with a mid-round pick to secure their handcuff, or take a flyer on a back that has the potential to rise to the top of the depth chart and be a viable RB1 or 2. This is coming from a guy who lost Bell, Forsett, Chris Johnson, and Rawls last year and didn't have any of them handcuffed. However, he does sign off with a hashtag FootClan title, which means you took care of business despite those injuries. So
Cobra Kai.
Well done. So what say you, Mike?
So this, to me, this is the handcuff discussion, and the handcuff discussion is always related to the talent level of the backup, because you don't just handcuff every single running back. If their backup is going to come in and be just kind of a guy like the Arian Foster situation. You never quite know who it's going to be. Is it Alfred Blue? Is it Grimes? Who is it down there in Houston? And on top of that, they performed
right,
not so great for your fantasy team. So that's the number one decision. But for me, when I have a guy like Le'Veon Bell and you got D-Well, who even last year, I mean, we knew he was the handcuff. We didn't know he was going to do that. And
number one running back through first 2 weeks.
Right. And even when you saw him do that in the first 2 weeks, you thought, there's no way. But he was great. But if the talent level is there, I mean, you don't want to just do it super early, like spend a 6th-round pick on a handcuff.
But isn't it hard with guys like Bell or McCoy, where you feel like if you're the McCoy owner this year, don't you feel desperate for Carlos Williams?
Yes.
Aren't you doing the okay, so McCoy's my 1st-round pick, Williams is my 5th-round pick?
I want to get him in like
you
the
probably
7th.
are. If you
well,
have
I want
McCoy,
to too, but I don't think you will.
No, you're not going to be getting Carlos Williams that late. I think you kind of tier the type of handcuff you're getting. First up is going to be the guys that by themselves can already be valuable to your team, and if the starter were to go down, they would explode. Like
Ryan Matthews.
That was the exact name that I was thinking of. Ryan Matthews, great example. Then you're not going to go for just handcuffs next. What you're going to go for is the flyer, the potential of just a blow-up guy, doesn't need an injury, he's a rookie or something like that. Then after that tier of player, I'm going to go for the straight handcuff. So I go player who can be great without it and better with an injury in front of him, then the potential flyer, then the straight handcuff.
All right. Nick in Williamsburg, Virginia. Which 3 of these guys should I keep? Allen Robinson for a 1.
Half-point PPR.
Yes. DeAndre Hopkins for a 1. AJ Green for a 2. Mark Ingram for a 2. Yeldon for a 3, and Brady for a 3. He needs to pick 3 from that crop of very talented players.
I'm going to guess that you cannot keep both Robinson and Hopkins. Let's just evaluate it from that, right?
You're saying because it would cost you 2 first-round picks?
Because if you could, then I would keep Robinson, Hopkins, and Green or Ingram because it just keeps pushing the picks back. So you could keep them for your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
If I were in his situation, though, you would take all 3 wide receivers versus I think Green for the 2 is the value.
I agree.
And I think Ingram for a 2 is probably a very good value.
Oh, and go with those 2? You mean like
I would probably take one of those 1st-round receivers, Green and Ingram.
Who would you take, Hopkins or?
I'd take Hopkins. I would take Hopkins, Green, Ingram. That would be my 3.
I would take Hopkins, Green, Ingram, unless what Mike is saying is
he
right.
He just says which 3 should I keep, and he gives you those choices. So.
Well then, if I can keep Robinson, I would rather keep Robinson, Hopkins, Allen Robinson, and DeAndre Hopkins, and Mark Ingram. Those would be the 3 that I would keep.
So you
can't
think
give up
Robinson? Just put this out there on an island: Robinson for a 1 or Green for a 2.
On an island?
Yeah,
then it would be AJ Green for a 2.
Okay.
But my point is, you can't give up 2 first-round picks in a draft.
You're also, I mean, you're in a 3-man.
I'm trying
keeper.
not to drill down too far on that conundrum here because he's making you make decisions based on the head-to-head value of giving up this pick for that guy. That's the decision-making process here is, would I give up a 1 for Robinson or a 2 for Green?
2 for Green. So
okay.
By that logic, Green, Hopkins, and Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not Tom Brady.
Jack in Kansas for the draft this year. I have the 3rd pick in our snake draft, and it's a 10-man standard league. I was wondering if I could wait on a quarterback until late and pick up great running backs and wide receivers, and then snag a decent quarterback like Tyrod Taylor in the 5th or 6th. Been first time, or what does it say? First 3 times looking for a change in strategy.
Yeah, he's been first 3 different times, but now he's looking for a change in strats.
Well, if you...
I say first off, if you're winning, you don't necessarily have to change your strategy unless your league is evolving. However, absolutely, you can wait, and especially in a 10-man standard league, I would be waiting. I would probably be the last person to take a quarterback. More than likely, somebody in the league will have taken a backup before I actually take my starter. A guy like Tyrod Taylor,
Tyrod Taylor should be falling much farther.
If you took him in the 5th or the 6th, that would be a tremendous reach. He's a guy. Let's look at Fantasy Football Calculator. Where's
exactly what I was
right now?
He's
He's going in the 11th round.
What quarterback number is he?
18th.
Yeah,
so he's
18th. So, but that's the point. The point of why you can do this is Tyrod Taylor is the 18th quarterback taken off the board. Now, I'm not necessarily feeling great about him being my only quarterback on my roster if I'm moving forward with that, but I wouldn't feel terrible about it. Your roster will be so locked and loaded with studs at running back and wide receiver and awesome flyers and handcuffs if you go in with Tyrod Taylor, who's being taken that late.
And if you're new to our show, the Fantasy Footballers, you hear us talk a lot about waiting on quarterbacks. And last year, what we do during the regular season is we have a segment during the week in which we recommend a streaming quarterback option. So that's somebody that you can sign off of your waiver wire and play that week because of the matchup and the performance trend of that quarterback. And last year we did that throughout the season. And I think we averaged the
sixth best quarterback.
Right. So that tells you what you can do.
And we try to make sure that quarterback is available in at least 40% of ESPN leagues, because we play mostly on ESPN, so that's the metrics that we use. But 40% of leagues.
And we give you 3 options.
And if you're looking at a 10-man league, that percentage is going to go even higher. So if you don't get a starting quarterback, if Tyrod Taylor bombs out, you're going to be able to stream from your waiver wire.
All right, Judah in the suburbs of Chicago says, Judah. I get to keep one player that I lose the round where I drafted them at, or just give up a 16th round pick for waiver pickups or trades. I picked up Dez and Lev Bell off the waivers.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Judah, for writing in. You are making my point for me.
And I traded for Gronk. So they're my favorites. I only get to keep one. I have the 5th overall pick. I also have Marty McBride, Cooper.
No, I'm not even. Those guys aren't even consideration.
If you're only keeping one and you get to keep.
So who do you guys pick then?
Le'Veon Bell. You get to keep who is either the number 1 or number 2 draft pick in the entire league for a 16th rounder.
So you're just giving Le'Veon Bell the number 2 spot in your draft after you. I mean, your arguments, don't they exist for Des Bryant?
Yes. No. Here's what I'll say. We're getting into August, or whenever you have to make your keeper choice. Maybe you have to make it soon. But if you don't have to make this until August, and they're like, Le'Veon Bell might miss 4 games, might miss 5 games, then Des Bryant, and I feel perfectly fine with it.
And they're all free, and they all make Jason's point. So if you're in a dumb league where Le'Veon Bell and Des Bryant are on the waivers, then maybe your rule should not be one, you get to trade the 16th.
Yeah, and if this is the first time you're listening, the fart noise I made and the upsetness I have is keeper leagues that allow you to keep a waiver pickup for essentially the absolute last pick that you have. You just get them for free.
Jason's just not a fan of that. I don't mind it, but in this situation, he proved me stupid.
It just creates an imbalance of power for a person. Just Le'Veon Bell, Dez, and
those guys should never be on waiver wire.
But if you're not,
Dez was on waiver wire all over the place last year. If you don't have an IR spot, yeah,
in a keeper league,
not
though,
in a keeper league.
In a keeper, I can't see him being dropped. And you know who else I bet was on the waiver wire? Probably Jordy. So someone else is keeping Jordy Nelson for a 16th round pick.
That's a problem.
Yes,
you're in a dumb league.
Well,
I don't mean to
call it. Don't despair. It's dumb. It's just
if it's a keeper league where these guys are sitting there, it doesn't make any sense. Maybe they convert it over to a keeper league.
Well, you only keep one player, so it's not like it's not a dynasty.
So these guys got hurt. They got dropped real quick. People aren't used to it.
However, great job by Judah.
Yeah,
terrific job.
Very smart moves.
Yeah. Keaton in North Carolina. When trading picks, how do you guys personally value them? For example, would you prefer having several extra picks in the middle rounds or invest heavily in having 3 picks in the first 2 rounds? #FootClan title.
Oh, Keaton.
Hey, I got a couple thoughts on this.
Yeah, I was actually going to try to kick it back to you because you are, if nothing else, the king of trades. You make 100,000 trades in the offseason every year. Just average.
On average, yeah. That was my peak. 127,000 was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. One thing that I love about picks is this. I've never, to date, no draft pick that I've had has torn his ACL. I've had no draft pick ever tear his ACL. I've had nobody sprain his ankle while they're draft picks, is what I mean.
Oh.
Is the actual draft pick
Okay.
is more valuable than a player sometimes because they can't get hurt. You don't have, in a lot of keeper leagues, you got 3 or 4 keepers. Those guys, Jordy Nelson owners last year.
Brutal.
That just, nothing you can do. But if you had traded Jordy Nelson for the right pick combination, that guy doesn't get hurt. You get to draft him. At least you know the guy's healthy on draft day.
So let's look at this question, though. Maybe there aren't keepers involved. It's just
sure.
Everyone starts. You have 12 picks, and you can trade your picks around as you see fit.
Yeah, and I'm a top-heavy type of player. I prefer having picks in the top half of the draft. I think your odds are much better to land on the right guy there if you do your research. And I also believe that when you start looking at the 5th round to the 8th round, you can kind of, the odds of getting a guy in the 8th round might be very similar to the 5th because you're taking more shots in the dark. In the dark perceptively. People are, your research goes a long way in the 8th round, is my point.
I completely agree. When you get past the 6th round, those guys every year for me, because we obviously come in having done our research. It's what we do for a living. When we get there, I'm always wanting to take guys in that 7th or 8th round who I value there, who I know I'm going to get in the 11th or 12th round, and I value them there. So if I don't have those 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th round picks because I use those picks to trade up for 3rds and 4ths, and now I'm backloaded as well, and I've got a lot of 11s, I feel like I'm going to be fine with the guys I grab there.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's kind of my idea too. And I always figure the last couple of picks in my draft, I'm going to be dropping those guys, rotating them out for free agent signings pretty early on. So do you have anything you want to add to that? Or
I would say a heavier research and deeper knowledge of the draft favors you having a bunch of middle round picks. Let's say but it's a situation.
So you're saying the opposite.
No, well, I'm saying look at it from this perspective.
I think it favors you in all your picks.
I feel this is what they're asking. Like, do you want a 1, a 2, and a 2, or extra picks in the middle?
And you would take the middle extra picks?
Maybe.
I would take the 1, a 2, and a 2, leave a hole in the middle, and I feel confident that I can make it up later.
That's about where I lean to. But I understand. I see a lot of value in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. It's not saying I don't want picks there. Just saying I know that if you can lock and load some of those top-heavy picks, especially in 10-man leagues, those top-heavy guys are really, really important.
Not to stay on this question too long, but if you are in a place where you can trade picks and you can, keeper leagues with pick trading, a lot of times you see really lopsided drafts. You can overdo this. You can overdo it where you have so much top-heavy picks that you're not taking anybody of value, and all of a sudden you're having to get backup bench spots, or you're thinking about your tight end where you kind of have to fill them in like the 6th round because you're almost out of picks. You're not getting as good a value, and you probably traded away too much to get them. I've seen that in several of our leagues.
All right, Derek in Seattle says, what's your opinion on draft position? Do you always like to have a certain spot, or how do you decide where you want to draft from? In my league, we all fill out March Madness brackets, and the best brackets get to choose their draft spot first.
Yeah, nice.
Second best bracket chooses their draft spot second, etc. I've heard that method. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah. I love competitions to earn your draft spot.
But where do you want to draft? Let's say you win the March Madness bracket. So, Mike, your first pick.
I hate's pretty strong. I dislike being on the corners. I don't want to be first. I don't want to be last. If I can pick my spot, I have my tier of top-end studs where, like last year, it was around 6 or 7. There was
six or 7.
There was 6 or 7 guys where if I'm in the top 3, I would love any of those guys. So I want to be around pick 6 or 7 when that tier is going to drop off, because then my second round pick will be higher up in my next tier.
Yeah, it's going to change every year. So this year for you, Andy, it's early. You can change. What would you select right now?
I'm probably in the 5 range, 5, 6.
Me too. I think I'm 4 or 5.
It's a little bit difficult right now because if certain guys step into roles that we expect, or if Doug Martin was back, does he slide into that top tier? If Rawls is handed the job, does that affect how you view certain things? Rawls was the best running back in football for a period of the year. Not saying he's going to be in that tier for me, but those decisions will come with time here.
Yeah, I would take, I think 4, because I would like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham, or Adrian Peterson. Those are the 4 guys that I would have at the top of my list.
So we've talked a lot about on the last show. We talked about Breeze, and I think we're kind of in agreement. He's going to have a pretty good year. We think.
Yeah, I like him.
His year was deceptively better than 2014. He actually reduced his interceptions. He threw for the same amount of yards, better passer rating. So here's a question from Michael in I believe Isley, South Carolina. He said, will Matt Ryan bounce back after his bad year, or is he on a downward spiral? I would say, we've seen this type of question come around every year. Is it, is Matthew Stafford going to have a bounce back year? Those type of players. Matt Ryan had a bad year. He didn't have a good year. He was especially inefficient in the red zone, and that killed him. They didn't target Julio a lot there. Julio had many weeks where he was dominating reception total-wise, yards-wise, but didn't score. So will Matt Ryan bounce back? He was one of the guys we really did believe in last year.
Matt Ryan will bounce back. The reason I say that is because you have 4 years in a row where he's thrown for over 4,500 yards, including this last year. His completion percentage is fine. His attempts are fine. The whole difference was touchdowns. Last year, he threw 21 touchdowns. Oof. He hasn't thrown 21 touchdowns or less since his rookie year, which was a long time ago. He usually throws, 28, 26, 32, 29, 28. Those are all the years before it. I don't see him throwing 21 again this year. I think he'll bounce back. He'll probably be a good value type candidate. That being said, he is one of those guys that's very lukewarm when he's good. He's not going to go out there and win you weeks with monster games. I would rather stream guys that I can go, okay, this guy plays nuts at home and he's against a super porous defense. I would probably play that guy over Matt Ryan in general. Most weeks, yeah.
It's like Matty room temperature.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we just talked on the last show on Tuesday, if you didn't hear, about the possibility of Mohamed Sanu or Marvin Jones, or even, there are even rumors about Travis Benjamin. If they can find another viable passing weapon for him to mix in with Julio Jones and Devonta Freeman, who I think we all agree will be a passing weapon for them this next season, you could see an improvement on those numbers. I completely agree with that. So we're up to Nick in Winnipeg.
Bonjour.
Thank
I got
you.
that for you,
I was
Mike.
waiting
Happy
for
birthday.
I was over here trying to remember Justin Hardy's name.
Yeah.
It was escaping me.
Second year for Mr. Hardy.
Could he take a step?
So Nick in Winnipeg says, since the majority of people think Tyler Eifert is a higher tier tight end and don't think he is TD dependent, how do you think shopping him now so far from the draft will be beneficial, since I'm sure his stat line spoken about in August? Also, what tier of wide receiver or what round pick do you think he could get you? I do agree with your assessment that he will be valued in that top tier, and I understand the fact that if he repeats his tight end performance, he'll be worthy of that pick.
I think what they're asking is, do you think his value is higher right now, or will his value be higher in August come draft season?
In August come draft season. That would be the case I made. I think I made this case.
But why would it be lower now?
The supply and demand. Essentially, there is just not enough people right now who are caring and riled up for fantasy football. Obviously, everyone listening to this show is. So the person writing in is. But he's going to find that his league mates, maybe he's got one guy that's really interested, maybe two. But you come August, you're going to have 10 trading partners. You're going to be able to float something out there that has just more demand for your supply. So I would say that's the better time, personally.
There's definitely an ebb and flow to the value of guys and picks over the offseason of like a guy like Tyler Eifert, who right now is valued wherever his line is. Over the summer and towards draft season, I agree. Him doing absolutely nothing, his value will change. So it's heavily dependent on your league. What tier of player could you get? That once again, that's up to your league mates, and we don't know how highly they value him. You should value Eifert as a higher end tight end. Don't sell him for anything less.
Well,
So
well, hold on. To your point, Jason, you're contending then that the narrative about Tyler Eifert in the I guess in the expert discussions is going to be that he belongs in that top tier.
Yes.
Because if you didn't,
Right.
then if you thought people were going to come on board with our thought that he's a little TD dependent, then people would be off of him later on. I mean, I think there's no perfect answer for that. If you have a guy that's really interested in him right now, shop him right now.
Absolutely. That's why I was going to frame the question of, do we think, do we think his value is going to be higher or lower later on next year? I think his value, his average draft position for where he would be drafted now versus where he's going to be drafted come August, I think will also be higher. I think the community is going to be really excited for Tyler Eifert, and they're going to want to sneak him.
You want to know why you're right? You're right because Marvin Jones will be gone.
Yeah.
And that narrative will help carry it on, too, where, okay, you lost another passing weapon.
And Sanu could be gone.
I
think his value will go up, personally.
All right, Eric and the injury. He had an injury at the end of the year. Even Dalton coming back. They'll both be healthy.
Well,
There'll be a lot of hype.
in the Pro Bowl, right?
Yeah. Eric in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Hey, guys, I'm in a standard 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, $200 auction league that allows 3 keepers per year. I can keep Gurley for $23, Rawls for $11, Langford for $11. Wouldn't make sense to keep Amari for $27 instead of one of those running backs, right? Thanks for keeping the show going year-round.
You are welcome.
So you get 3
Eric.
keepers. So he's just deciding, does Cooper belong in the conversation, or does he just run forward with Gurley, Rawls, and Langford?
Cooper absolutely belongs in the conversation of so it's 2-2-1 is the player format.
I would move forward with the 3 running backs personally.
What about you, Jason?
Name-wise, he is 100% in the conversation, but value-wise, that breaks the tie. So I would as well go with Gurley, Rawls, and Langford. I don't feel the need. You save that extra $16 and buy a better wide receiver with it.
See, I think Amari Cooper is going to be great. I think he's going to be an elite level wide receiver, and both.
We need a Donald Trump drop of. He's going to be huge.
Both Rawls, Langford, tremendous value, tremendous questions for both of them, and so to me it's Gurley, Cooper, and one of those Rawls or Langford. That's how I would do it.
All are good values, but I just like the value of the 3 running backs better.
All right, yeah, that's fine. Dan the mailman in DC, USA. Last year, the no running back rule unless
zero
RB.
the 0
RB rule unless you drafted AP seemed to be the way to go. If that's the same way to lean going into the 2016 draft, take wide receivers high, which means taking more chances on running backs in the 5th or below rounds, grabbing hopeful starters, etc. PPR keeper league. Oh, this is the question of the offseason.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 0 RB theory. Now, the 0 RB theory is essentially you take wide receivers for your first, 4 picks, 4 or 5 picks. You don't take a running back until late, and then you get a ton of running backs with potential. The theory is as the season moves on, running backs get more injured. Some of these guys grow, and so you're getting the best value over your draft. It can win. You can win a championship with that theory. Last year, we knew coming in, it was a pretty decent year to try it. I think this year, it is also a good year for it because the top end of this draft with running backs has a lot of question marks. All of that said, I'm still not going to do it personally because I think you have to have just so many things hit your way for that to win. If you like that theory, it's a good year to do it. Do it. But I'm going to stick to my standard way.
Yeah, there's at least a few running backs. Peterson, Gurley, David Johnson. So those 3 guys are their first-round picks for me. So that seems low of the amount of compared to 3 of 12. Right now, I'm guaranteeing that those 3 are worth a first-round pick to me.
But you don't put Rawls in that category?
I don't know yet.
Right.
I'm just saying as of right now at the beginning of March.
Wait, you only have 3?
Yeah.
Wait, who are you missing out?
Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson, David
Oh,
Johnson.
Bell, yeah.
Okay.
Bell.
Yeah,
well,
'cause
even
Jamal Charles.
Even Bell.
Those four guys.
Both Bell and Charles, we assume they will be back. Charles,
Right.
I think Charles is more likely to be ready at the beginning of the season than Le'Veon Bell. We could, Le'Veon Bell, I think, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty confident that he has the same injury that Brashad Perryman is dealing with. Brashad Perryman is still not cleared.
Yeah, but Brashad Perryman's also 43 years old. Le'Veon Bell is a young man. The jokes from last year on
Poor
Brashad.
Brashad. We could have done so much with you, Brashad, if you had just been active. We could have talked so much about you.
But Perryman's still not cleared, so there's no guarantee that we roll up to draft season and they're like, well, Le'Veon Bell's playing week 1. Maybe Le'Veon Bell's playing week 7. We don't know right now. So I'm just saying those are the 3. But because those 3 are guaranteed, let's say I have a top 3 pick right now, besides Antonio Brown, I would love to get one of those guys.
Oh, Brashad Perryman. You don't know ARP.
If you don't remember, oh, that's
Josh
funny. Go Google Brashad Perryman if you don't remember what he looks like.
All right, Josh and Scott. Poor guy.
I know.
Josh and Mike's gonna look that way in a couple of years now that he's 33, 34.
I'm on the
36.
way, man.
All right, Josh in Scottsdale,
So I got
Arizona.
the beard. I will just move the beard
Oh,
up.
local
That's
guy.
right. Hey guys,
Oh,
big
Scottsdale.
fan of the show. We're allowed draft day trades for picks, and we can keep a player drafted in the 5th round or later. I have both Todd Gurley and David Johnson eligible to keep. Is there one? Also, there's one guy who's a huge Rams fan. Do you think it's worth trading Gurley to him for his first or second? Hey, why not both?
If you can do both, if you can keep David Johnson and then trade Todd Gurley to get an extra pick and you're just double dipping,
Yes.
100% do that. If it's got to be in lieu of keeping one of them, then no.
It seems like, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
So if you can trade one and keep the other, 100%, absolutely. Let's say you can only, if you're going to trade him, it's your keeper, so you won't have a keeper. So you're trading a guy like Gurley for an extra first round.
I would
pick.
not do that.
And yeah,
Unless-
I
no
agree.
way.
Yeah.
No way would you do
I would
that.
just keep him.
So let's say you can't do that and you got to keep one. Who do you keep, Gurley or David
Gurley.
Johnson? I completely keep Gurley.
Yep.
I love David Johnson, but I would go Gurley.
We're going to debate this all summer.
Yep.
It's not even worth it.
Yeah.
Mike's going to always hesitate and say maybe David Johnson.
Yeah, I am.
All right, Tyler in Orlando says, hey, guys, thanks for an abundantly entertaining podcast. You guys do a great job and led me to a second championship this past year in my league of record with your insight. I have a few options at keeper, only one that I get to keep.
It's like Highlander.
Tyler Eifert for a 13, Carr for a 16. He says he's a waiver pickup. Sorry, Jason. Jason, go ahead.
Hey, he apologized.
Yeah, no,
Mark
that's good. Thank you, Tom.
Ingram for a 5th and Julian Edelman for a 6th round pick.
Keep one.
Oh,
PPR league, give me the Mark Ingram, baby.
Edelman
Locked
is
and
6th
loaded,
round
baby.
pick PPR.
Give me Mark Ingram.
Edelman 6th round PPR is very, very tempting, but I am going to go Mark Ingram. We forget that this last year, Mark Ingram became a pass catching back. He was extremely involved in that game because of the position scarcity. I'm gonna take Mark Ingram in the 5th.
It's Mark Ingram for me too.
He had 50 receptions.
And how many games did he miss?
I just closed the window. All right, Dan in Morgantown. Our league is considering changing our positional format to one quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receiver, tight end, and 2 flexes and 1 DST.
So you don't even have to play a tight end.
No,
right?
or you could play 3 of them. So both options. You're right. Do you guys have any thoughts on combining the wide receiver and tight ends? How do you think this would affect the draft?
You kill
That's a
tight
big
ends.
change. That is a huge change.
Yeah, whenever I see wide receiver, tight end combo positions, I take them as wide receivers. Now, obviously, Gronk's going to get in there. Jordan Reed might get in there. There might be
Greg Olson.
Yeah,
There's 4 or 5 guys.
4 or 5 guys that you'll sneak in there. And because
Delaney Walker.
Yes.
because the fact that this is 2 running back, 3 wide receivers plus 2 flex is very deep. And
Super
so
deep.
the depth might actually encourage tight ends and bring them back to life. But in general, I would say make one tight end spot and then go ahead and make make all the wide receiver spots wide receiver / tight end if you want. I don't have a problem with that. But
Wait,
otherwise,
what would you dump out, though? Would you dump one of those 3 wide receiver tight end flexes
I would dump.
or one of the 2 flexes?
Yeah, I would probably dump one of the
You're not
tight
just
end
saying
flex.
just add a tight end, though.
No,
I would take
no.
one-
I'm saying take out one of the 2 extra flexes.
Oh, I would take out one of the 3 wide receiver tight end combos make it a dedicated tight end and keep the 2 flexes. If you wanted a deep league, I'm all for that. That makes the game tougher. That makes you have to know your stuff even more.
I agree. So 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 of those wide receiver tight end flex, a tight end, and then 2 flex.
All right, Jesse in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Konnichiwa.
Hey, guys, listen to every show. I get 2 keepers forever, no round penalties.
Forever.
It's a 12-team non-PPR. My no-brainer is Antonio Brown. I need to choose between Allen Robinson and Rawls. Do I go into next year stacked at wide receiver, or do I balance them out and take Rawls? I don't know if we can answer this right now.
Yeah,
I think that I would take Rawls when you have Antonio Brown.
That's exactly how I feel, but you have to wait and see what Seattle does to know, is Rawls really there as the number 1? If they come back,
Give me the odds that Rawls is worthy of a first-round pick. In your head right now today,
70%.
it is it's March 3rd.
Yeah,
70% for Jason.
I would go around the 70 percentile. But let's say for Allen Robinson, what do you think of Allen Robinson? Is he worth a first round pick?
No.
I would say no.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's on the bubble.
He's
I
going
think
to be
both. I
drafted
think those.
there.
Okay, that's fair. That he's on the bubble, and we always say, granted, win now. Completely agree with that. But let's just think in just a 2-year window for this. The percentage chance that Thomas Rawls is worth a first or second round pick next year compared to Allen Robinson.
That's tough. I would say the odds are higher for Robinson
Yeah, I agree.
at his age, where he's at with the quarterback position. I didn't get to answer it, but I would say my odds of Rawls being worthy of a first round pick are around 85%.
Yeah, and
That's about where I'm at
he
right
says
now.
he's drafting 12th overall,
Which is
means
better wide receiver spot, probably.
Exactly. It's going to be more difficult to find a running back there with 2 keepers already gone and then 11 picks, because people who do the same strategy, they're going to go, okay, now I got to get that running back in those first 11 picks. So I think you're going to end up keeping Rawls here, but that's
Wait
a great,
as long as you can.
Yeah.
Wait as long as you can.
Today, it would be the 2 wide receivers for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Bob in Valhalla.
Yeah.
I own Javorius Allen.
Is this Mad Max?
Javorius. Well, what can you expect from Javorius Allen moving forward? Mike, you weren't here to embrace all that is Trent Richardson's rumored signing with Baltimore. But what can you expect from Buck? Because honestly, the signing, if for some reason they bring in other guys to compete with Taliaferro and Forsett, it doesn't speak ill of Buck Allen to me. It speaks more about what they really project Forsett to be able to contribute for the rest of his career. Not that I expect Richardson to make the team. But that being said, what is Buck Allen? Because he's going to be talked about a lot.
Buck Allen is the poor man's Giovanni Bernard. And that is all he
For next year?
Yeah, and that, I think, for
And
his
for his
career,
future.
I think that's all he will ever be.
I agree.
Who's the rich man's Giovanni Bernard?
Gio.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Mike M.
Danny Woodhead.
in Rhode Island. Hey, guys, longtime Foot Clan member. Right on. I've withstood multiple championships, including a back-to-back title defense thanks to you guys. Well,
Excellent.
no, that's thanks
Tremendous.
to you.
Tremendous.
However, a title eludes me in one league.
Oh, no.
You got to get the complete
Yeah. Sweep.
yeah. I like to stream quarterback in my other league, but this league allows only 10 ad drops for the season. How would you approach quarterback there? I can tell you.
I can as well.
I
which is
think
why
you guys
he's
will
asking.
both disagree with me.
Oh, let's have it, because I know
I
mine.
would draft a pair of them. I would draft a pair of quarterbacks late. That is exactly what I would do.
You wanna
I would
know-
take 2 guys late.
Here's what I would do. I would wait, and then I would draft a pair of quarterbacks. I completely agree. That's exactly what I would do.
I would half do what you're saying. I like drafting 2 quarterbacks when you can't make moves, because quarterbacks are so great to play based on the matchup and the defense they're going up against. But I'm going to look in those middle-ish late rounds for a value. So if in the 6th round Russell Wilson drops there.
that's yeah, okay.
I mean, right now he's going at the end of the 5th.
So if impossible things are going to happen, then yeah, I can.
You'd go with the
He's
impossible
going
things.
at the end of the 5th. I'm saying if he drops a few
He's not
spots,
going to go with the end
He'll
of
go in
fifth.
the 4th round
if
or higher. But I can agree with that.
My point is, if you are in those normally here's where I sit on the
You
quarterback
would
position.
let those go more.
I let
Yeah.
those go. Hey, a guy should have gone a round ago. I can get him here. I don't care because the difference between him and someone else, late and what I'm going to stream doesn't bother me. But if I'm in those middle rounds and I think that there's a guy who's got the potential to do great things like Russell Wilson or maybe a Big Ben or Drew Brees, and they should have been drafted 2 rounds ago, I'm going to snatch them up there, grab another quarterback late.
But either way, you got to save those 10 moves for injuries and terrible things happening. But if I'm in this league, you give me Phillip Rivers and Tony Romo.
Oh,
2 thumbs up.
yes, sir. Derek Carr and Phillip Rivers, something like that. All right, Mike in Wilmette, Illinois.
Oh wait, it's only 3 point per passing touchdown, so they're even devalued more.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Mike in Wilmette, you might be right about that. Illinois. I can keep one of these. Allen Robinson and everybody's got Allen Robinson keeper decisions. I've noticed that
because they
in all
listened
of
to our show last
in all
year.
of our mailbag.
and we had everybody draft Allen Robinson.
I can keep one of these. Allen Robinson in the 5th, Cooks in the 7th, Eifert in the 12th. Leaning A-Rob, what do you think's the best value? Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. I believe the right decision here is Allen Robinson, despite the value for Cooks.
It's not much of a difference when you're going 5
If
to
this
7.
was Robinson in the 3 and Cooks in the 7th, I would think about it.
It would go Cooks that way.
But I'm taking Robinson.
Yeah, I think I'm a little closer than you are on leaning on thinking Cooks is there. But if this was my own team and I have to pull the trigger, I would keep Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson.
Land of the Fish Throwers is the name of the question asker
From Seattle.
in Seattle. The Land of the Fish Throwers in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hey, guys, love the podcast. Brought me a ship last year despite some epic whoopsies in my draft.
You do not win championships in the draft, and we all love draft season. I will say this 100,000 times more. I said it all last year. Look, draft's important. You can lose some things in the draft, but you don't win your championship at the draft week.
See, I
Keep
thought you
playing.
were going to say you do not want epic whoopsies in your draft.
Well, that's also true.
We all make them.
Yeah, we do. My question is this. You mean like when Jason trades for Fred Jackson before he's cut?
Hey, you don't win the championship at the draft.
My question is this. Whenever I mock draft on fantasydraftwizard.com, my starting lineup ends up rating very poorly, while my bench is usually first or second. Anyways, I feel like it's a decent starting lineup, but fantasydraftwizard.com vehemently disagrees.
Oh, you are right, Land of the Fish Throwers. That is almost always.
That don't matter.
Every single time that I do a mock draft on fantasydraftwizard.com, that is almost always how my lineup turns out. It is
Don't worry about it.
Not ranked very high. Sometimes
Don't
my
worry
bench
about it.
is ranked great. The thing is we're going with who we believe is best. If you want to have the best score, just draft who it recommends every single time as the highest ADP. It's a computer. And then it'll say, oh, you drafted like perfect.
That's right. I would prefer my ranking to be 1 at the end of the season in my actual league.
Right.
That's the ranking I care about the most. It's hard, right? We're all list makers and evaluators, and we want to hear people say, bravo, well
Good
done,
job,
good
yes.
sir.
is
You've
hard.
drafted even us. I mean,
It is.
We see those. How at the end of our mocks the
I
other
think I
day,
gotta-
we all compared to each other. Anyways, what the ranking
I
said.
thought I have a killer team, and then I look, it's like, you did 8th best. I'm
and
like,
you're like,
no, I did not.
And then you won the Twitter poll.
There you go.
So there you go.
But don't let that sway you. Yahoo does the same thing. Even when you do your actual draft, they all give you report cards and things like that. Just say, I don't care. I don't care about what you say, computer. I care about how my team finishes.
Print it out and put it on your wall as
That's right.
bulletin board material.
Yeah, exactly. Send it to us at the end of the year. Or better yet, tweet Yahoo at the end of the year and say, I just won my title and I was ranked 8th.
Suck it.
AJ in Boston, $200 budget auction league. Keep 1 of 2. Is that right?
Yes.
Keep 1 out of 2.
And after 3 years, the price goes up 5. After 3 years, okay. So after 3 years, it goes up $5
per year. David Johnson for $1, Robinson for $5.
Do we have the music?
For
You know what music I'm talking about. I don't know if we have that possibility or not. And not in this stage.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the one you just made?
You could sing it.
No, it's David Johnson. David Johnson.
Oh, I don't have that music.
That's what I was referring to.
Oh, well, sorry. I don't have it.
Oh, this is
Yeah, it's definitely David Johnson.
it's David Johnson.
Okay.
For $1.
Matt in Twinsburg, Ohio. What round should Jordan Reed be picked?
Ooh, I like
Is he a top 6?
Top 6 rounds? Yes.
Yes.
He is definitely a top 6 round. For
He
me,
is worth he's worth a chance in your league. He can make such a difference.
And people they're scared about his injury history, and yeah, I will agree that his is a little deeper than most, especially when it comes to concussions. You don't want to screw around with concussions because he could be knocked out. However, here's Jordan Reed in a standard league, weeks 10 to 16. He was the number 1 tight end by over 20 fantasy points. I mean, that's over.
that's
Rob
including
Gronkowski.
Gronk.
Yeah, Gronk
Just
is
think
in that
about the
list.
way people evaluated risk with Rob Gronkowski returning from injury. That evaluation of risk was, is he a first-round pick? It wasn't, is he not going to be drafted? Jordan Reed belongs probably going to be higher on my board than a lot of other people because I'm willing to take that injury risk for the upside that it represents. He was fairly healthy last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
He got it going, and the rapport, assuming Cousins comes back, the rapport is great. I love Jordan Reed.
I probably won't have Jordan Reed on any of my teams because for me, I will take him without hesitation at my 4th pick. Or if it was late in the 3rd, I know I've got another pick a couple picks away because I want 3 good stud guys. If I take with my second,
As opposed to the number 1 tight end.
well, no, but I'm saying because of his injury risk,
So stud
at
meaning
the position of tight end that I don't think is so necessary to have, I would say I would rather get wide receivers and quarterbacks with my first 3 picks.
wide receivers and quarterbacks.
Or wide receivers and running backs. Yeah, I want 2 or 3 quarterbacks with my first
Look,
2 or 3 picks.
I feel like we'll back roll right into the Antonio Brown risk aversion debate if we start getting too far into that because I feel like
So what
There's
round do you
no-
draft Jordan Reed?
3rd round.
Okay, so
Oof, really?
you're 3rd, I'm
round.
4th.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
don't
4th
see
round.
if people are drafting Rob Gronkowski in the 1, which I won't be doing. I'm happy taking a shot at the guy who's going to be right there neck and neck with him potentially in the 3rd round. I really am. If I start my draft and I've got 2 running backs in those first 2 rounds, I'm going to hesitate quite a bit on going Jordan Reed in the next round, but he's in that consideration for me.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between Gronk and Reed when it comes to what we've seen them do through their career.
Of course, and that's why there's a difference between the 1st and 3rd round.
And I will say this, just another piece of strategy I think that fantasy players should live by. Like we say here, we don't advocate the early round quarterback. We know some people are still going to do that, and you got to play how you want. What I can't advise you do is taking a quarterback and a tight end early. You can't spend 2 of your first 6-round picks on a quarterback.
Makes
and
it
a tight
very,
end.
very difficult from that
You're going
point
to be
on.
so shallow at running backs and wide receivers who you need a lot of through the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So that does it for today's Foot Clan Mailbag Show. Make sure you check out the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. If you want to follow us individually, you can follow the birthday boy at FF Hitman. You can follow me at Andy Holloway. You can follow Jason at Jason FFL. If you want to support the show, there are a number of ways that you can do that.
You can DM me and PayPal me for my birthday present.
No comment on that choice, that option. You can go to jointhefoot.com. You can very simply just go onto the podcast app on Apple, on iTunes, and just leave us a review. If you enjoy the show, if you like the year-round fantasy football content, we're an independent podcast, so your reviews go a long way in helping the show succeed. We very much appreciate it, and stay tuned. On YouTube, there will be a 5-minute show after the show. You can only view it on YouTube, and you can check that out pretty much starting right about now. So any parting words of wisdom? Nope.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Happy
That's
birthday.
fine.
Oh,
Mike.
thank
Are you
you.
doing anything tonight?
Sleeping.
All right. Happy birthday, you old man.
Goodbye.
for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.